Hello, everybody. Welcome in. I got Alex Lilhels, our enterprise reporter. We are talking today about Waymo.
Yeah.
All right. So first of all, what is
What's up
Waymo?
What's up with it?
First of all, what is up with that? We're going to get into that very soon. First of all, for the audience who doesn't know, what is Waymo and what makes it different than Uber or Lyft or things like that?
Yeah. I mean, it's very similar to other taxi and rideshare services. Just the big difference is there's no driver behind it, right? I mean, it's really that simple, right? I mean, this is essentially, and when we say Waymo, I think we could also just kind of expand that to all driverless vehicles because there's a couple companies out there, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so Waymos are, obviously it's very synonymous and it's one of the more well-known companies that's efforting this driverless technology. Waymo specifically traces back to like Google and has its origins with the Google Street Driving project more than 10, 15 years ago. So I think that's why people associate, they're just kind of ahead of the curve when it comes to just like they've been doing it for a long time. But there are, they're not the sole autonomous driving company, but they're certainly the most, I would argue, recognizable. We talk about, I'm going to take a Waymo, right? That's like becoming a thing in certain cities. So, it's essentially a driverless car that acts as a basically driverless taxi. So you call it from the Waymo app.
Okay.
And similar to Uber, and when your car shows up, it verifies that it's you and just really takes you wherever you want to go. Just the only difference is that it's a driverless car. The AI is advancing where it's navigating city streets in certain cities without a driver. So that's sort of the very short spiel of like a 15-minute or a 15-year process for this company and technology.
Well, I love it. So personally, I had a professor. He took a Waymo with his family, him, his wife, 2 kids, and he said it was weird because as a human being having control, being used to having control on the steering wheel, right? And now you don't.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of perspective. You saw some Waymos in action.
Yeah. So I went to Austin a couple weeks ago just for a buddy's bachelor trip, celebrating his upcoming wedding. And I had never been to Austin, and I haven't really spent a ton of time in the specific cities where Waymos are in action. But Austin is one of them. And actually the first, if I'm getting the wording right, the first pilotless ride for a passenger with Waymo happened in Austin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Austin was a big testing ground and origin point for just the whole concept of driverless transportation. And so I was in Austin, and I took a rental car from the airport, and all around, you're seeing these cars that have these kind of gadgets and these sensors on the side and on the top, and they're just driving alongside you just as any other car would. But when you look and you pass by them, they don't have drivers in the front seat at all. So it's very interesting. And I saw more than 20 times I saw a Waymo over the course of 3 days in Austin. So they're definitely there. They're definitely interesting. And it's funny that you bring up the whole that's the concept of not having a driver behind the wheel is, interesting to some people. Well, I think that's the whole conversation, right? Of, you're taking the human element out of this for better or for worse, right? Because, let's be honest, there's a lot of people, some people are not good drivers, right? So, some people get into car accidents because they're not paying attention. But you're also then removing the ability for a human to course correct or change in a moment's notice if something's like really happening really fast. So that's the whole conversation of driverless autonomous vehicles, right?
Yeah, I definitely see the benefits of a Waymo. So like, let's say the dark side of the moon here a little bit, cutting down on drunk drivers. If a bar wants to call in a cab for a guy, hey, you've had too much, calling in a Waymo, just pick him in there, put in the directions, and you can have him go. Or let's say a busy area. I was in D.C. A couple weekends ago, Union Station. There's a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Having autonomous vehicles all moving in the same direction can maybe cut down on some of that traffic and stops as well. So that's the positive side.
And D.C. is one of the there are 19 cities, and when we're talking about Waymo specifically, there are 19 cities across the country that are where Waymos are testing, and DC is one of them, right? Because there's a lot of urban density in DC. So the 10 that are where Waymos are like fully operational right now, it's San Francisco, which was sort of the beginning, Austin, Los Angeles. What are the other ones? I can't remember the other ones.
Definitely New York.
No, New York is one of the test sites.
Okay.
There are 10. There's several in Texas specifically.
Okay.
And so there's 10. There's 19 on the way. And sort of the question is Raleigh the next?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's localize it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways, but I think the most interesting thing to notice, have you been to Charlotte?
I have been to Charlotte. I have some friends down there.
Okay, so Charlotte is one of those 19 test cities.
Okay.
So Charlotte, it was announced about a month and a half, 2 months ago, late February, that Charlotte, because people started seeing Waymos just on the streets in Charlotte, not operational per se, but they're testing there. So a lot of people started seeing, hey, we saw these Waymos parked in this lot in this part of the city. What's going on? And then in late February, essentially, Waymo and city leadership, in this kind of joint press release, announced that that the company is coming to Charlotte. So people's speculation that it was testing there and that it was coming there proved to be true. That they were essentially one of the next cities to be on the.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
So they're coming to North Carolina.
Definitely. So I'm trying to hopefully that they're coming to Raleigh as well, tested here as well. We love the business. So let's talk about Charlotte. What infrastructure is needed for Waymo to go? Is there like a place for the cars to go? What's going on?
Yeah, so that's a part of this story that we're reporting today is that this concept of, the cars drive themselves, but they then have to park somewhere, right? Well, where are they going to park?
Where's the fleet?
You can't just park them on city streets across, just randomly, right? There's I don't know how it works for every single city where they're at, but the notion is that if you bring these kinds of cars, this technology to a city, there has to be sort of the support system to allow the technology to exist, right? So essentially what the story that we are doing today talks about is that we know definitively that there is a parking garage being built in downtown Raleigh.
Okay.
And that technology and the garage is going to host a automated parking garage system.
Okay.
Through the company Auto Park It. And this is kind of a circuitous process storytelling, but stay with me for a sec. So there's a parking deck that's being built in downtown Raleigh. The technology behind that parking garage is an autonomous robotic mechanical system. It works for any car. So essentially you drive your car into it, similar to like a kiosk. You drive the car into the bay, you step out of the car, and then sort of the system essentially valets the car for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it works for any car. It works for traditional cars that where there's a driver behind the wheel. But the interesting tidbit here is that they also can basically be upscaled,
okay,
and outfitted to support driverless cars.
Okay,
and that's important, right? Because now we know, okay, there's a parking garage coming, and it can house and it can support driverless vehicles. And we actually talked to the CEO of this company for the story.
Great job for you,
man. So it's Auto Park It CEO, and they have facilities across the country. And we talked to him, and he basically acknowledged a couple things. One, that their technology, since they have been designing it, has been always imagined to be able to house and sustain and be adaptable to autonomous vehicles. Okay, so that's something that he was very upfront about, that this technology from the get-go was thought of and conceptualized to someday work with this technology. At the moment, they do not have a project or a facility that currently houses autonomous vehicles. So they have the technology to do it, but they do not have a facility that currently does do it.
Okay.
And he was upfront and basically saying there have been conversations with driverless autonomous car companies. There just hasn't been a formal contract signed. They haven't officially closed the gap on whatever that is behind the scenes. Not privy to any of that, but what he told us is that there have been, quote, perimeter conversations, but just nothing has materialized. So those are three important things to remember, right? It's coming to Raleigh. It can support autonomous vehicles, but the company does not have a partnership with a driverless car company yet, but that's something that they're working towards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the most interesting question I asked him was, we were talking just, it's a cheesy baseball analogy, right? If you've seen Field of Dreams, you know that the concept of that movie is a guy who builds a baseball field to attract, former baseball players to Iowa, I think, cornfield. Yeah, I think that makes sense, right?
Yes,
So, and there's a famous quote in that movie: "If you build it, they will come," right? And so
Absolutely.
I asked him this question, and I said, "Is this that situation where if you build this infrastructure, is your hope that they, an autonomous car company, sees that and is incentivized to come?" And he said that is accurate. So he acknowledged that this essentially the parking structure and the foundation for supporting these driverless vehicles, you need this infrastructure first before you move forward with the conversation. And so at least that's his hope, right? And so just a lot of interesting things. So this is by no means a story that says driverless cars are on their way to Raleigh. No. But what we're trying to say is that there's obviously
there's the framework.
There's pieces of this conversation that we could be talking about this in the future. This project is allowing Raleigh to be ready if that day ever came.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Alex, thank you so much for taking some time out to talk to us. Man, an amazing journalist, and also shout out to you for getting the CEO to talk to you as well on the record about these things. So anything
he was
else?
a nice guy. Yeah.
Oh, great, amazing thing. Where can people find you? Anything else missing on this reporting?
I think that one element is that you'll find in the reporting is that there's obviously a public safety component to this. Is something that we look into the story is that Waymo, right now, cities are kind of balancing the idea of progress versus public safety, right? It's like everyone is acknowledging that this is a thing that advances technology. There are benefits to it. You had mentioned, if someone gets maybe a little too much to drink at a bar, you don't want them driving home. You don't want them operating a vehicle while intoxicated. Well, a Waymo could be is a potential solution to that, right? Because you don't have to then interact with another human being. That has been one of the conversations about their benefits in cities, especially in a city like Austin, where I went, right? You're in Austin, there's a lot of nightlife. You can drastically reduce the number of people that are potentially operating a vehicle while intoxicated. That's a benefit that is seen. There's also been, though, as the story kind of points out, some hiccups with the operations because it's still it's a technology that's learning, it's growing, it's advancing.
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect, right? And so there are, as we explain in the story, some instances where Waymos or just in general driverless vehicles aren't how do I say this? They're not following traffic laws or just the thing they're not operating the way that they're supposed to be operating, right? One example is that they're driving through bus signs in Austin, the side signs. Yeah. So they're driving through them. The technology for a second couldn't pick them up. So they were so that's one issue, right? Is we want people to be safe. We don't want cars, though, as kids are getting off a bus, we don't want a car coming through, right? And all of this is just a balancing act. And I think, the story it's not asking you to choose if you would like a Waymo or not. It's just, I think that's just an interesting conversation about the future is here, right? Cars without drivers are becoming a thing. They're spreading to cities across the United States. And, Raleigh potentially someday could be one.
Yes.
If all the, stars align and if all the elements come together from a regulation and infrastructure standpoint.
Absolutely. Well, it's time to start talking about the future and what we want Raleigh to look like as well. So, absolutely. Well, I love all this. Where can people find your reporting? Where can people find you online?
Really basic, just WRAL News. You'll find the driverless vehicle story. It's pretty in-depth, I think. So
Okay.
And in general, just look up my name.
Look up your name
on the website. Yeah, pretty easy to access.